am so excited to be a part of this Girl Scout panel event. I think it's incredibly important as a female executive to be there for young girls, to help coach, mentor, guide them as they start to live out their dreams and plans for their future successes.
I think it is incredibly important to support organizations like the Suffolk County Girl Scouts because their mission deeply aligns with my own professional values and commitment to empowering individuals, fostering community engagement, and promoting generational success. I see the Girl Scouts as an investment in the future. The skills and values instilled in these girls will have a lasting impact, influencing their future careers, relationships, and community involvements. Supporting the Girl Scouts means supporting the development of strong, capable, and compassionate women who will contribute positively to our world now and in the future.
Hey, I'm Gina with Marfor Construction. I have been a Girl Scout since I was a daisy at 5 years old, and never did I think that as a woman I would end up in the construction industry on jobs like this every day. And I think that it's so important at a young age for girls to realize that the level of empowerment that is just so important for them to be empowered at a young age and to understand that as a girl, we can do absolutely anything. So really excited to be a part of this, and thank you so much.
Girl Scouts is an amazing organization that helps girls grow into the future leaders of tomorrow. I myself was a Girl Scout all the way from daisies all the way through my Gold Award. And so I know the impact that being a part of this organization has on young girls developing leadership skills for the future. This organization is amazing in bringing the courage, confidence, and character our future leaders of America need.
Hello everyone, my name is Olivia Phillips and I'm going to be introducing the Girl Scout Color Guard. Girl Scouts attention. Color Guard attention. Color Guard advance. Color Guard post the colors. Girl Scouts honor your colors. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, we ask all Girl Scout alums, volunteers, and anyone who is a Girl Scout at heart or man enough to be a Girl Scout to join us in the Girl Scout Promise. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. Thank you. Color Guard dismissed. Girl Scouts dismissed. You may now be seated. I now invite Girl Scouts of Suffolk County's President and CEO, Ms. Tammy Severino, to the podium.
Please join me in giving a round of applause for our Color Guard, our Girl Scout ambassadors joining us this morning. They are Camden Glover, Olivia Phillips, Lizzie Ryan, Sophia Aracocha, and Caroline Severino. Good morning and welcome to the 5th annual Making an Impact Breakfast. Tomorrow is International Women's Day, and I'm honored to see so many of you here with us this morning. As you know, March is Women's History Month, but March 12th also marks the 113th anniversary of Girl Scouts. More than 1 in every 3 adult women in the United States was a Girl Scout at some point. This year, you can see a sign of that sisterhood in the trefoil on your name badge. But I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge all the Girl Scout alums in the audience. Whether you were a Girl Scout for a year or 2 or earned one of our highest awards, We believe that once a Girl Scout, always a Girl Scout. So can I ask every Girl Scout alum in the room to please stand? That is an amazing sight. From a group of girls in Juliet Gordon Lowe's First Troop in Savannah, Georgia, to an alum community of more than 50 million strong, Girl Scouts is a sisterhood that weaves us together, fostering connection in a world that tries to divide us. I invite you to join our new Alum Association. You'll find more information and a link to sign up in our digital journal today. We have 4 remarkable young women with us this morning, all of whom are Gold Award Girl Scouts, who embody our mission's dedication to courage, confidence, and character, and making the world a better place. The Girl Scout Gold Award is the highest award in our Girl Scouting program, and these Girl Scouts are leading the change that they want to see in the world. From advocating for people with special needs, renovating a safe space for teens in a group home, providing support for middle school students to improve in their writing skills, to creating a room dedicated to wellness in a domestic violence shelter. These Girl Scouts saw a need in the community, and they spent nearly 100 hours each to make a sustainable solution possible. The Gold Award requirement is 80 hours, but Girl Scouts go above and beyond, and the average hours served in developing their program is 98. That's the fantastic work of the 4 Girl Scouts in this room. Multiply that by the other 40 girls earning their Gold Award in Suffolk County this year. Multiply that by the almost 3,000 Girl Scout Gold Award girls across the country, and that is the power to change the world. These Girl Scouts are already leaders in their own right. They are the future change makers of the world. Whatever they choose to do after graduation, they will have the power of Girl Scouts behind them, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what's next. Camden Glover, Olivia Phillips, Lizzie Ryan, and Caroline Severino, thank you for your outstanding dedication to making the world a better place. It has been my privilege to see you go from daisies to ambassadors as you head off into the next phase of your journeys. Please give them a round of applause. I would next like to thank our board members and event committee co-chairs, Jennifer Friedman and Krupa Lauricella, for sponsoring the attendance of these young women to join us for this empowering discussion. I'd like to take a moment to also say thank you to all of our board members who are here this morning for their support and dedication to our mission every day. They are fearlessly led by another Girl Scout alum. She knows the importance of sisterhood and has graciously sponsored a table for our alums at this year in the room. So please join me in welcoming our board chair and my friend, Donna Smealand, to continue with the program.
Good morning. Thank you, Tammy. As she mentioned, my name is Donna Smealand, and I'm a Girl Scout, if you couldn't tell. This is actually our adults' vest. We do have a uniform for adults and volunteers and alums. So for those of you who are feeling nostalgic, please feel free. This does represent my service in Girl Scouts now, and also my badges from the past when I was a girl. So it's a great way to feel nostalgic and some pride, but also it inspires me when I see girls like Olivia and Camden and Lizzie and Caroline who are here with their vests and their capes, because I may not have gotten that far, but there's still hope for me. So maybe next year I'll have an extension, we'll see. I am so proud to be an alum, and that's why I'm overjoyed that so many of you are here with us to celebrate our 5th annual Making an Impact breakfast. This show of support for our girls is really inspiring. The call to action for this year's International Women's Day is to accelerate action for gender equality. And one of the best ways to get there is to do more of what works and do it faster. We know that the programming that is part of the Girl Scout leadership experience helps girls succeed. Over 86% of alums hold leadership roles. And for Gold Award Girl Scouts, like the ones that are here with us this morning, it's even more extraordinary at 98%. Excuse me, 99. Wow, it went up already. Probably from the girls in this room. Before a girl can change the world, she must believe that she can. In Girl Scouts, girls learn the courage to step out of their comfort zones and try new things. And it really is courage, especially when you're a young Daisy and a Brownie, and you really look up to those other girls who are juniors and cadets to help you along that journey. They learn the confidence they need to believe in themselves when outside forces try to discourage them. They learn the character to do what is right, even against the odds that seem insurmountable. We want that world-changing power for every girl, regardless of background or ability, and by the overwhelming support here this morning, we know that you also do. As I look around the room today, I'm so thankful to all of you, our supporters, for standing up for girls. I want to acknowledge the honored members of the Suffolk County government who joined us this morning and thank them for their partnership and support. New York State Senator Monica Martinez, Legislator Chad Lennon, Legislator Stephen Flottering, who was here earlier today, and Legislator Rebecca Sannon, who are wonderful partners to us, and we're so thankful that you've joined us to celebrate the International Women's Day and the Girl Scout movement. I'd also like to acknowledge our Courage, Confidence, and Character sponsor, Four Leaf Federal Credit Union. Let's give them a round of applause. Our Making an Impact sponsors, Catholic Health Good Samaritan University Hospital. Thank you for being here. Jovia Federal Credit Union. Meraki Smith. Rockline Wealth Management. Northwell Health South Shore University Hospital. Stony Brook Medicine. Sunshine Physical Therapy, Telechoice, and Valley Bank. Our Take the Lead sponsors, the Alzheimer's Association Long Island Chapter, Bulliva's Restorations, Farrell Fritz Attorneys, and Maloney Family Funeral Homes. We truly thank you all for your kind support and helping us ensure that all girls, regardless of financial resources or ability, can participate in Girl Scouts. We value your collaboration and your partnerships, and I have no doubt that amongst all of you, you have Girl Scout alums in your organizations, and I'm sure they're your rising stars. This event would not be possible without our dedicated committee. I've heard it takes a village. Danielle Scott Belly, Esme Beljanine, Suzanne Adrian Green, Danielle Maloney Hassett, Tammy Mitchell, and Angela Perone. I'd also like to thank among them Jenna Kierstad, our creative director, who has worked so closely with them to make all of this happen. Thank you. It's not in the script that Jenna wrote for us, but I would be quite remiss if I didn't acknowledge it. Angela, Jenna, and Suzanne have worked very hard to make this event beautiful. The raffle baskets, the beautiful display here. It's countless hours of work on their part and the committee, so I truly thank them for their dedication to Girl Scouts. And finally, it is my great pleasure to give a round of applause for our co-chairs of today's event, Jennifer Friedman and Krupa Lauricella, who will also moderate our discussion this morning. Jennifer is a longstanding board member and is our second vice chair, and she is also the executive director at the Sisters of St. Dominic of Amityville. Thank you, sisters. Krupa Lauricella is a long-term board member also, and our first vice chair, and she comes to us from the town of Islip, Councilman James P. O'Connor's office. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Donna. Jennifer and I are honored to be a part of this inspiring and empowering morning. Each year this event brings us all together and to help build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. And I'm committed to it as a female and a mother of 2 young girls, and I carry that mission with me in every walk of every day. And I can't think of a better way to celebrate International Women's Day. And on that note, I just want to say this is my 3rd year doing it, and I couldn't have asked for a better co-chair, a better friend, and a better human to do it with. And in that way, here's Jennifer Friedman.
Thank you, Krupa. As I look at the audience, I am humbled by the tremendous support for our girls, our amazing volunteers, and our movement. Krupa and I are honored to serve as the moderators for today's important discussion. So without further ado, let's introduce our dynamic panel of women. Our first panelist is Linda Arman, President and CEO of Four Leaf Federal Credit Union.
Our next panelist is Dr. Sylvia Diaz, Suffolk County Deputy County Executive for Health and Human Services and Education.
This is Gina Farisi, CEO of Marcor Construction, Marcor Solar, and MGM Construction Services.
And last but not least, our final panelist is Michelle Martin, Director of Mission and Ministry at Malloy University. This question comes from one of the Girl Scouts of Suffolk County's Media Girls. Our Media Girls program is designed to provide girls of Girl Scouts age 9 through 18 with a hands-on experience of developing communication skills while they explore the ever-changing world of the media environment. They learn public speaking, interviewing, photography, and content marketing. Let's not waste any time. We ask that you turn your attention to the screen and watch.
The Girl Scout mission is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character.
What part of the Girl Scout mission resonates most with you?
Good morning. How's everybody doing? This is a wonderful event. What a great turnout. Obviously, great support for the Girl Scouts. My name is Sylvia Diaz. I'm a Deputy County Executive for Health, Human Services, and Education in Suffolk County, working with County Executive Ed Romaine, helping people. And that's sort of a theme here today. In terms of the Girl Scouts, the thing that really resonates with me the most is the courage part of it. So as women, we have to really demonstrate courage, and to be able to just use that terminology on a regular basis with our young women is really a powerful message. So I'll turn it over to my partner here.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Gina Farisi with Marcor Construction, Marcor Solar, and MGM Construction Services. So when it comes to the Girl Scouts, all three actually resonate with me. When you think about the mission of the Girl Scouts and starting as a daisy and then going to a brownie, all of those badges, you're setting a goal for yourself and you're putting yourself on a path at a young age to achieve a goal at a very young age. And that's what life is. You set goals and you work to achieve them. And since I'm a daisy knocking on doors selling nuts and cookies to people, I was able to set a goal and achieve that goal and learn that from a very young age. And I think that's all three would resonate with me.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle Martin, the Director of Mission and Ministry at Molloy University. To me, the one piece of the mission that really resonates is the value of character. I think that is such an important piece of creating ethical leaders for the future of our country and the future of the world. I think that by building character and exposing young girls to activities that forge that in them allows them to learn about their own gifts and talents and be able to use it in ways that really make an impact for the future of our society.
Hi, I'm Linda Arman, CEO of Four Leaf, formerly Bethpage Credit Union. For those of you who are wondering what Four Leaf is, we're on day 5 of the name change. So here we are. I'm of the mind of all three, and I'll talk about confidence since we talked about courage and character. Having the confidence to stand up and to what you believe in, right? So when you talk about character and doing the right things and being raised with the right values, not being a bystander, but actually being able to be an ally or be an advocate and having the confidence to do that is important, using your the character that you've built. I also think it takes courage to be a strong person, no matter what you decide to do in life, whether you want to be a leader or you want to be a doer or you want to be a thinker, whatever it is you want to be, having the confidence to be you and be authentic to yourself is super important. So that's it.
Our next question is around balance. Women today are more educated and more employed than ever before, yet they still take on most of the household and familial duties and are also more likely to be the ones who care for sick or elderly family members. With all the different buckets we need to maintain, how do you juggle your roles? And what advice would you give girls to finding balance?
So, this is an interesting one for me because I don't know if any of you have seen our Money Like a Woman movement. I see some people nodding their heads. Okay. So that's the whole premise. We did a ton of research, and one of the key research points that came out of it is not only is there a pay equity gap, but there's a silent time gap that women face. And that silent time gap is everything that you just talked about. It's the doing the work at home, taking care of your kids, taking care of your parents, family duties. So, that's the whole thing that we're trying to promote with Money Like a Woman. Some people don't understand what we're trying to do, but it's saying, let's take those unique skills that women have, put them up on a pedestal and celebrate it, because we multitask like the best of them, right? And that's really what the campaign and the movement is about celebrating those skills. And, what I think we have to do is give ourselves some grace and pause when we need to pause and say, you know what, maybe we can't do it all at the same time, and we have to prioritize just like we do in our businesses. And there's going to be some days where you're leaning into the family and some days that you have to lean into work. And yeah, maybe there's some days you got to do all three, but you got to parse it out and figure it out. But you have to be willing to give yourself that grace and to take a deep breath, because if you don't, then it just doesn't work. You'll end up having a bad spiral, having a bad moment. And I've just learned when you start to feel that wave come on, because it's like enough is it. What was that old? I'm going to date myself. Calgon, take me away. When I start to have those moments, I've just learned to take a deep breath and do what's next in front of you.
I think this is a super important discussion for women. I am a mother of a young daughter. She's about 1.5 years, so she keeps me very busy. And as you can imagine, watching her is kind of our sole focus at home because she gets into a lot of crazy things. So my advice that I give, and I am fortunate enough to be in a career where I can turn the notifications to my email off when I go home. That's a huge piece for me, is being present in the role that I'm currently serving. So when I'm at work, I try to just be at work. And when I'm at home with my family and it's designated family time, I try to just be with my family and kind of not let the two intercede each other as much as possible. And I think to your point that, it does take a village, and so you can't do it all, and recognizing that is super important. And not all of us have a village ready and able to help, and that's a struggle. So the other advice I would give is, if you don't have a village, is to create a village. Find some friends that you consider family. Outsource your village if you have to. I mean, my daughter goes to daycare because our family isn't able to watch her for us. So, sometimes it does take going outside of just family and relatives and your immediate, what you would consider your village, and kind of expanding that in order to help you balance all of those roles together.
So I'm going to say it for the third time. It takes a village. It really does. As a business owner of not one but 3 different companies, I unfortunately don't have the ability to turn anything off. Maternity leave wasn't a question. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. I had my daughter sitting in the bucket at 4 days old in my office. When I had my second one, she was 4 days old, and I was climbing in the back of my Suburban to nurse her while my 18-month-old was sitting in the car, and the babysitter was with us, and I was sitting in a parking lot looking at a building saying, I can't believe I have a 4-day-old baby and an 18-month-old, and I have to go in and save an account right now because they're trying to pull it out from underneath my feet, and I had somebody kind of climbing behind me to do it. And you can't let things like that get in your way. Also building yourself outside of, for your family, also building yourself internally a team that you can empower, that you can lean on, that that if you are going to leave and you're going to task somebody with something that it's going to get done, is so important. And respecting those people and appreciating what they do for you is something that you don't find often. It's a lot of the time in business and in the corporate world, it's like it's expected, and people don't owe you anything. They have a job to do, and you're paying them for that job. And some people are willing to do just the bare minimum, and that's it. And when you build a team and you empower them and you put them on a path to be able to grow and understand that they have families and that they need a vacation, that they need that work-life balance as well. I chose my path, and they're choosing theirs, and you have to understand that we're all balancing this. And from the family thing to taking time to yourself, I think that was the hardest thing for me to understand, was it's okay to be selfish for an hour a week. And for me to turn my location off and go sneak out and go get a massage, I'm out. But the but the reality is you have to do things to keep yourself sane, because this is just, it becomes cyclical. I find myself living on my calendar, and planning is everything. We've got things planned through August at this point, because if you don't plan and you're juggling, I'm the cheer coach, I'm the PTA, I'm the class parent, then you're also I'm on 3 different boards. There's so many things, and there's only 24 hours in a day, and I like my sleep. So
those are great points. Yeah.
Planning is everything.
And Dr. Diaz definitely juggles a lot.
So I'm a social researcher. I have my PhD in social work from the School of Social Welfare. Where are my Stony Brook people? I know I got some Stony Brook people here. So, quick survey. Who here has mastered the work-life balance? Just a show of hands.
Sit on it.
Okay, this gentleman. I'll see you after. I can repeat that.
We'll all see you after.
He obviously has a lot of time on his hands. You know, some of my research actually had specifically to do with this, and it was social support versus autonomy. Do we exist in a social supportive environment, or are we autonomous and trying to do everything on our own, right? So we tend to gravitate towards, let me just do this. It'll get done quickly. It'll be over. That'll be fine. But women, as women, we're socially. Let me be careful because I have a lot of gentlemen in the room, but we have that intelligence, the emotional intelligence, I think, in many instances, which is a skill set, it's learned, and we utilize that to build our social supportive networks. And it's those social supportive networks which help us become autonomous in many instances. And so people working together, obviously, we all can rely on other people in our lives in most instances, but then we gravitate towards wanting to do things on our own to just get it done and get it over with. So I'm a caretaker for my elderly mom who's 86, and my brother and I are really only siblings. And for the most part, I feel guilty when, like, did I put too much on my brother, you know, for some reason. And that's just, you know, that's a gender thing, that's an age thing. I like to think, when I was thinking about this question, I like to think that today, our younger women are starting to look at that whole work-life balance a little bit more differently than maybe we did. And so they're looking at the life part of that, and maybe anticipating and putting value on that. I think it's so important. So I encourage that. I'll encourage that with the young women that I encounter, that I mentor, so that perhaps they wouldn't feel as, you know, they wouldn't have as many gray hairs as us, and they would experience, sorry, Cooper, that's me. But that they would experience that sense of encouragement that you get from social supportive networks. And we're all part of networks. We just have to rely on each other. Yeah. So that person that didn't raise their hand next to you, ask them to be part of your social support network. Thanks.
Excellent points. Absolutely. So the next question I want to ask, and it's always important, and I ask this of everyone, and especially this morning. So, you know, the road to success, you know, younger workforce, talent that we have in our organizations, they think success is a straight line. Like, you do this, and that, and then boom, here we are. We're right there. And I say, no, you know, you're going to have twists and turns and trials and tribulations. And I really got to give a handout to our Making an Impact committee and our council staff for Girl Scouts this morning, because you might have saw us doing a lot of pivoting in the morning. We got a little delayed, and we appreciate your patience because we had technical issues with the mic, and they pivoted. And I always tell younger staff that pivoting is a superpower, I think, right? You've got to know when you have to change direction and not double down. So on that note, can you tell us about a challenging time that you faced in your journey and how you pivoted to overcome it?
So every day, not every day, right? Okay. Really, I was reflecting on this question a little bit, and I went through some major changes in my career, over my career. I'm in a place now where I think is sort of my dream job, and everything led me to here, I think, and I know many of us feel that way. But I guess the one of the most more challenging times was when I worked, at the time I was working for American Cancer Society. I was a regional vice president in Suffolk County, loved my job, but they were going through major changes, and things were happening. My region expanded from Suffolk to Long Island, and then was going to go partially upstate, and I just couldn't see myself going over the Tappan Zee Bridge every day, and that commute. So I had to make some decisions. I had to make some life, family decisions, some balanced decisions, but I didn't want to go. I loved what I did. You know, the fight against cancer was such a strong part. I'm a cancer survivor myself, and we did so much on Long Island for breast cancer research, and so it was very challenging, and I fought it every step of the way, and then one day I said, you know what, I'm going to have to make a change. I'm going to have to make a difference, and it was literally that day that I opened myself up to change, because I was stuck in that space, and I just saw myself as that person. And so in order for me to make that change, I had to sort of psychologically get there. And I determined that I would do that. I would pivot. I would take that next step. And so what I did was I reached out to my network. I said, I'm ready. They were kind of waiting, And literally that first day I called my mentor and I said, listen, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna find something else. And she said, you know what, I'm going to an event tonight. Why don't you come with me? Let's get together and, we'll hang out for a little while. Literally that night, I met the president of Suffolk Community College, and he recruited me to get a job at the college. And from then forward, I ran the foundation. I stayed on Long Island, stayed in Suffolk County where I wanted to be, and I helped kids get scholarships to go on to higher education, which was so near and dear to me. So that was my pivot moment.
So I'm not scared to share some of my personal business endeavors, and my biggest turning point where I had to pivot, running a business. I run the main business my father owns. The other two businesses I own, and at one point I was doing sales. And I started from the bottom. I was ripping roofs, I roofed roofs. My father's old-fashioned Italian. He's like, I'm not handing any of this to you. You're gonna earn it, you're gonna work for it. And I was like, I literally crying. I'm like, I can't afford my rent, I can't afford my car payment. I have a degree in finance, I have to pay back my loans. How am I doing all of this? And I remember calling my mom crying, being like, he's leaving me in the middle of Jamaica, and I now this one's gonna be a full-day job, and it was so hard, and every time an obstacle got in my way, I looked at it as a challenge. And I made sure that every challenge I was gonna overcome, and a door would close and I'd find another one, or I'd find a window, or whatever I had to do. But at the end of the day, when it comes to running a business, there's a level of trust that comes in, and we had people that we trusted, or at least that we thought we did. And unfortunately, I had uncovered, I was like, Dad, something's not right. These numbers aren't making sense of what the company's doing. When I'm doing 50% of the sales, I know I'm making the company money, where's the rest of it going? And we fought about it for weeks, until one day I showed him in writing, like, here's my numbers, and here's our overhead, and da-da-da-da-da, because I'm that finance girl, right? I know my numbers down to the penny. And he said, okay, go find it. And I spent 4 days digging through every corner of my business, and I found hundreds of thousands of dollars that was being stolen from us. And unfortunately, I had to get rid of people, but I also looked at my father, and we kind of played a little game of chicken. And I said, listen, if this is how you want to continue, go for it. But let me know, because I'm going to make my resume tonight. And the next morning he came in and he said, there can't be two bosses. I'm handing everything over to you. You take over, let me run production, and don't let me lose my purpose. And that was the biggest pivotal point of my career, because he empowered me to be able to take the company to the next level. And unfortunately, you really do sometimes have to fall on your face. We've had everything, we've had nothing. We had to start over and rebuild ourselves so many times, and reinvent ourselves and find different niches to be able to be different in the industry and take different paths. And then, being a woman in construction is obviously not an easy feat in itself. So, not being able to let those things take you down is extremely important.
Good points.
So my original career was a high school English teacher. My master's is in adolescent education and special education, and so I was teaching for a couple of years and I loved it. I have very fond memories of that career, and then an opportunity presented itself to go into campus ministries at what was at the time Molloy College. And so I had an existential crisis with my husband, and I said, I always thought I was going to be a teacher, but I know if I don't take this, I'm going to wonder what if my whole life. So my husband said, very, very profoundly, I feel, the only one whose life this is impacting is yours. Like, no one is gonna lose sleep over the fact that you're no longer a teacher. So I made the jump, and I obviously have stayed in higher ed since, so that was a great story. But what happened when I went into the campus minister role and found out I loved it, and I was very empowered to work in that role, is I realized I no longer really had a plan of moving forward in my career, because I had always envisioned being a teacher. So I didn't know what that career trajectory looked like in higher education, nor did I have a degree that really connected to it. And that's really important in the field of higher ed. So I pivoted in a way that I swore I wouldn't do after my master's, and I went back to school. So I'm currently pursuing my doctorate in educational leadership. Thank you. I'm actually scheduled to graduate this May, so it's very exciting. Yes, thank you. And so this pivot really changed my career because it allowed me to research and really study and learn the career that I decided to join based off of kind of like a really divine opportunity that presented itself to me. And it has made all the difference. So I currently research spiritual leadership development in our students and alumni. And we're hoping to, change our leadership development models to be that mission focus driven. So yeah, always my advice is to just keep on studying and learning, and saying yes to those opportunities allows you to pivot in ways that you probably never thought you would.
So I've pivoted, I'm with you on the daily. We have to pivot every day, right? From a career perspective, so I'll go back in time. I went to school for English literature, and most of you are saying she runs a bank, or credit union. And I wanted to be a press secretary. That was like my big hopes, desires, dreams, until I realized I didn't really want to be a press secretary. And I didn't want to live in Washington and have the craziness of the swings, right? The pivot, the pendulum swings. And I didn't know what to do. So I went to I went to my village. I think we have to shut that other one off here. Went to my village and got some advice, and I had an aunt say to me, well, what about banking? And I was like, I never even thought of banking remotely. And I applied for a management training program with the Bank of New York. That doesn't exist today, but years ago, the commercial banks used to do these really great management programs, and they were like 2 years. Like, so you got accepted to this. After 14 interviews, it was the craziest experience of my life, but you get accepted to this really important program, and they literally teach you every aspect of banking. So it was critical. And I mention that only because it now fast forward, and I was at a really interesting point in my career at Bethpage. I was Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer. I oversaw our crisis planning and crisis execution, and then this little pandemic hit. And my boss was a couple of years away from retiring, and I just didn't see myself as the CEO. I saw myself as transitioning whoever was going to take over, and then maybe getting a consulting job. I mean, that was kind of where my plan was. And then the pandemic hit, and I was charged with leading our efforts around that. And I started getting involved in every aspect of the company again, where I wasn't just focused on my stuff, but I was focused on everything. And as the leader of strategy, you're kind of focused on the direction of the company. So with that skill, and then with really leading the pandemic efforts from soup to nuts, I got my confidence and my courage up. I'm going back to those Girl Scout lessons to say, hey, I think I want to throw my hat in the ring. I can do this. And I had a long talk with my boss and said, I don't know where I am in the succession line, but I want to put my hat in the ring. And it turned out I was in the succession line. And I was able to put my hat in the ring, and here I am. So I never thought that was going to happen. Thank you. To be honest, it's the greatest privilege of my career to be able to be at the lead, or I like to call myself the head coach of this fine organization that does so much for the community. And for our members and for our employees. So it's truly a privilege for me, and I'm glad that I did that big pivot and did some soul searching and had the confidence and the courage to step up and say, yeah, I want this. And I don't think women do that enough. I think we doubt ourselves. I think we say, maybe not me. How many women say, oh, I don't have every single thing in that job description, where most of the time men will say if they have 75%, they'll go for it. We have to say 80% is good enough. It's good enough when you're making company decisions. It should be good enough when you're making personal decisions, and you should go for it. Even if you don't think you have every single thing, because I'm an English literature major, can't get the words out today, and I'm running a $14 billion financial institution, so I think we can do it.
Girl Scouts cookie season is here, and our theme is to unbox the future. During cookie season, we learn critical skills such as goal setting, decision making, money management, people skills, and business ethics, providing us with the confidence to take on the future and opportunities in business. Can you tell us about the most important skill that you've learned that makes you a successful female business leader in your role now?
I do a little stint at St. Joseph's University, and I teach a class called, it's really focused around leadership competencies. And one of my favorite leadership competencies is efficacy facilitation. So efficacy facilitation is when you surround yourself with people who are eager to do things, but maybe don't have the tools that they need to do that work. And so you facilitate for them. You build the infrastructure for them, and you give them the tools they need to do the job, and not only do the job, but do it right. And so consistently doing that has been part of my manner in leading, and working with teams to give them the tools that they need to effectively do their jobs. And when they don't have the tools, give them the voice to come forward and tell us that they don't have the tools that they need, so that they ultimately can get the job done. And it instills confidence in them. It knows that it shows that they're supported in what they do, and it doesn't make them afraid to say, hey, you gave me this job to do, you gave me this work to do, but I don't have any tools or resources to do this job. And so that to me, and of course, once they actually get something done successfully, they feel great about themselves. So that's sort of my, that's one of my competencies that I focus on.
One skill that really is important to me in my leadership role, and this is where you're really going to get a taste of the mission-driven leadership that we have at Molloy and our pillars of spirituality infused in here, is, for me, reflection is key. And I think that that's not often considered a leadership skill, but it's so important for us to take that pause and reflect on really all areas of our leadership. How our own leadership is going, what does our community need at that time, what do our businesses need at that time, in what ways is society and the world pushing our work in one way or another. And so those areas of reflection, I think, are so important and have really been pivotal moments for me in developing as a leader and leading others in my journey.
So I'm going to go back to the village, and it's really funny because I actually have a sign in my office. It was letters they put up when I took over. It says it takes a village in my office, and I stare at it every day. And it's because I'm a very collaborative leader, and I think it's really important to make sure that when I'm making decisions, I'm listening to all points of view. And while I have to make the final decision, there's a couple of things that I like to do. If I have an idea, I like to run it past the people it's going to affect the most. And when I have people bring ideas to me, I make them bring it to our leadership team so that we have the ability to look at it from all aspects, because making decisions in silos is never productive. And then the other thing I say all the time is let me sleep on it, because I like to be thoughtful, and especially if it's a big decision. So I think that collaborative skill set, the listening, but truly hearing people, not just hearing what you think they're saying, but actually hearing what they're saying, and then having the time to give it thought and make the better decisions. So being collaborative, our organization is very collaborative. No one area can do anything by themselves because we're so interconnected. And I have found that not only are our employee happiness scores
and our member happiness scores a direct reflection of when we're collaborating. When we're working in silos, that's when things go wrong. And so it's critically important, and I think that's probably one of the most important things in my leadership ability. And I do leverage, we talk about soft skills. I call them core skills, and I've had leaders come to me and say, hey, can you teach me those soft skills? And I'm like, no, you can't. I can't teach it to you, but you can learn it. But you have to put the time in to understand what it's all about. And it's about building relationships. I tell my staff all the time, building relationships is your superpower, because if you can build relationships, then you can relate to anybody. You can reach out to people that when you need them, and you can work collaboratively. So to me, that's the most important piece.
I had a couple of things. That's why I kind of wanted to figure out which one I wanted to go with. But sitting in a room full of a majority of women, I felt that likability is something that we all want as women. We want people to like us. We want to be accepted. And when you accept the fact that you don't always have to be liked, and that's okay. Not everybody's gonna like you. You're not gonna always be everybody's cup of tea. It's okay. There's a lot of opportunity out here. And, another thing that we've really, that I was brought up with was understanding perception. My father always taught me perception. Everybody has a different set of eyes, and they see things differently. And when you think about that and you put blinders on, and I say, okay, I'm looking at you, but she's sitting there and she might be looking at you. We're seeing different things, and we're seeing the world through different visions. And when you understand that other people don't, something might be very easy for me that's not very easy for somebody else. My mom and I were talking this morning about financial literacy, and I've got people in my family that have zero financial literacy, and it comes very easy to me. I'm like, I don't understand how people don't know how to pay their bills. But it's basic stuff, and you have to realize that not everybody's going to have those same skills as you. But what you want to do is embrace the skills that people do have, embrace the skills that you have, and figure out how they work together in conjunction and build that strength as a team.
Those are great points that you bring up about building skill sets and building a team. And, Linda, you had mentioned how we're all intertwined, and you have staff that comes to you and says, can you teach me this, and can you teach me that? And one of the most important things in being leaders is having the ability, especially I think this, because I've benefited so much from the grace and the generosity of mentors, whether they were male or female. And I have to say that, I know it's International Women's Day and we're celebrating women, but I just want to give a shout out and applaud all the men in our lives that support us and guide us, and they're there and they have our back and they're at our side, and we couldn't do it without the allies that are there. So really, thank you very much. And super shout out to my husband. And on that note, I guess my next question will be about, it's actually a very, a quote from Serena Williams, and we all know who Serena Williams is, and she's a famous Girl Scout. You might not know that, so she's a famous Girl Scout alumni. And she says that every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We're strongest when we cheer each other on. And this is important to me, like I said, as a mother of two girls, and it's important for young staff that we bring in and we develop in our organizations and in our nonprofits and in our communities. So can you tell us about an important female mentor in your life? And just as importantly, I want to ask how you as leaders are paying it forward to the generation that's coming up behind you. How are you supporting them and cultivating them to be the next generation of female leaders?
So I can't really pinpoint one mentor. I'm very big on mentorship. I'm actually on the board of the Mentor New York. I really find it important, and for all of the people that work for us, we need to be coaching and mentoring. That's why I call myself the head coach, because that I feel is what we do when we lead companies. So there's been several people in my life, some male, some female, who have always guided me and always have been those people that I could go to when I needed to make big decisions and when I really needed to deliberate and think on things. So, I use them today. One was my father, who was deceased in his 40s, so he hasn't been around for a really long time. But the one thing that he always used to say to me that stuck with me through my whole career was, when you get up every morning, do one kind thing for somebody, and that's going to make you successful. So when you start with that foundation, I guess that's the character piece, right? Everything else then helps you, because you think about, okay, like, I'm here on this earth to do good things for other people, and I truly believe that. And I'm going to make mistakes, and there's going to be things that I don't do that are right. But listening to people, understanding, and I think part of Serena's quote is about not being so judgy. I think women tend to be a little judgy of each other at times, and that's not helpful. I can tell you when I launched Money Like a Woman, I had more women question me than men, and the number one question was, well, what about the men? And I didn't have the men saying that. I had the men saying, wow, that's really cool. I have so many women in my life that get shortchanged or get underestimated, and I think this is great that you're doing that. We had a gentleman come into one of our branches saying, you know, I've been thinking about moving money to you, but I saw your Money Like a Woman campaign, and I have a single daughter who's killing it, you know, a single mom daughter who's killing it every day, and I want to be with an organization that supports women, so I'm bringing $1 million over to you. So that was pretty wild, right?
That's amazing.
So getting back to the point is, we want to judge each other in a good way. We want to be there to support each other. We want to give each other good advice. And we want to mentor each other. And I do that with the men in my organization too, because I want everybody to be successful. But from the young girl perspective and the spirit of International Women's Day, and even Money Like a Woman, it is about taking all these great traits that we possess and making them shine. Yes. We want to help people to shine. So maybe put the judginess away sometimes, because it's not helpful.
So someone who has mentored me in so many areas of my life, and I'm very blessed that she actually happens to be here today, and she's going to hate that I'm calling her out in a room full of people, but it's Sister Diane Capilano.
Stand up. No one stand up.
Sister D, they're asking you to stand up. So Sister Diane is a sister of St. Dominic of Amityville, and she was the campus minister at Malloy for many years, even when I was a student. So she has really been a mentor in my life from when I was a student up until today. So she has a wonderful gift of walking alongside somebody and having them really understand and learn the gifts that they have within them and how they can use that to make a difference, small or big, right? Because service is on an individual basis and then also on a community basis. So she has a wonderful gift, and she has continued to be a wonderful mentor to me as I took on my career in campus ministries and now my career in mission. And I have the privilege of still serving alongside her. Sister D still comes to our annual service trips to West Virginia and El Salvador. So our students still get to learn from her. I still get to learn from her, which is such a blessing. And I really just try to pay that forward. I try to accompany our students on their own journey, hold space for them, let them figure out where they're being called, and kind of just giving them some guidance and some support in that journey. And it's been such a blessing. So thank you, Sister D.
So I am fortunate enough to have two awesome mentors. One who probably doesn't realize she's a mentor, but part of that quote that Serena Williams said is, she talks about cheering, and everybody needs to find themselves a cheerleader.
Yes.
My cheerleader's right in front of me, my mother. She is a... Although there's plenty of times where I tell her, Mom, this is, I'm going to vent this to you, but Bill Gates doesn't talk to his mom about what he's doing with his business, so I don't need to tell you every angle, but in the grand scheme of things get hard. We live in a brash world, and you need somebody that's going to be able to pick you up, and thank you for being that person. But everybody needs a work mom too. So I have a work mom who her her husband happens to be sitting there, who also works with us, Jose. And Christina and I have had this beautiful relationship for probably 12, 13 years, where we were running in companies and we were running them parallel to one another, but crossing paths constantly. And finally one day, about a year and a half ago, I was just like, can you just come aboard with me? And she's taught me so much over the years, and from, Jose's probably very used to the 24-hour rule. We can't make decisions for 24 hours. I've actually been pushed to 72 at some points. And it's important because, just like you said, you gotta sleep on things. You can't just shoot off the cuff. You have to think about what are the outcomes, what are gonna be what are the consequences of the potential decisions I'm making, right? Also, understanding that the universe is real and certain people come into your life at certain points for a reason, and that's something that Christina constantly repeats to me is, this is the universe doing this. The universe brought us together. The universe put this person in your place. The universe, and that's just how I feel life and my career both work. As far as paying it forward, if it's, coaching my daughters in cheerleading, or like I said, being a class parent and being involved there and being present in those moments. But even just, I sometimes I get asked to be pushed into the career day to speak, because people want to hear from a woman who's in a different career. That I went into the brash world. I didn't want finance. With all due respect, because I realized
that's a brass world too, finance.
So that was because I realized how backstabbing finance was. I didn't want it. Banking might be a little different than corporate finance. Corporate finance was rough, and then I went into construction, and pretty backstabbing there too. And I get involved in boards. I'm on the Suffolk County Consumer Affairs Board. I'm on Nassau County's Consumer Affairs Board. I'm on Long Island Builders Institute's board. I've started committees and councils within the Builders Institute. I actually started the Women's Committee with the past president about 2.5 years ago. It was very, very exciting to see. When I started in the Builders Institute, I was one of the very few women in the room, and it was known as the Good Old Boys Club. 14 years later, being a member, we have over 50 women in the Women's Committee that are consistently empowering one another, and that's not something that we saw 14 years ago.
Thank you. I've been fortunate to have a number of mentors in my life, and my grandmother was probably the first mentor by example. We're first generation. My parents were both born in Puerto Rico and came to this country, didn't speak any English. But my grandmother had 3 daughters in Puerto Rico, and my grandfather had a great job, and they were young, and it was challenging for them. And my grandfather was super young, and he kind of did a lot of other stuff, and sometimes wouldn't come home on time and things along those lines. My grandmother kind of got fed up with it. And so she said to him, I'm going to take the girls and we're going to go to New York and we're going to go visit my sister. And she gets them on the plane, and my grandfather's waving goodbye and see you in a couple of weeks and so on and so forth. Well, she had no intention of coming back. Here she was, right? Applause, right? I heard that. Here she was, spoke no English, was going to the South Bronx to go stay with her very strong sister in the apartment, and they lived in a room in my great aunt's apartment. And it was tough. Grandmother, as I said, spoke no English. Every day she had to have a donut and a cup of coffee, even though she hated that donut, until she learned how to say other things that she wanted for breakfast. She sewed gloves. She did everything she could. When my grandfather got on a plane and went to New York City and knocked on my great aunt's door and said he wanted his family back, she stood there and said, no, not doing it. And then my great aunt, who could put the fear of God in anybody, was standing behind her and was telling him no. So he went on, and they separated amicably.
But ultimately, she, by example, showed me that as a woman, you do what you have to do to take care of yourself and your family. My mom also, strong-willed, but my biggest mentor was really my Aunt Zeta, who actually worked in banking. And she was the littlest of the girls who spoke no English, came to the South Bronx. And she, from a very young age, went into banking, no education. Just said, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna get some training, go into this, do this work, and ultimately rose to a high-level management position for Citibank at the time, and did a great job. She was actually managing the bank branch in Brentwood, and then retired from that job. Just amazing. But throughout her career, she would always talk to me about her challenges and her struggles. It was male-dominated. She was not only the only female, but the only Latina. And so she was constantly facing, discrimination and she wasn't good enough for this or that. There were times when she was turned down from positions and so on and so forth. But she would always say to me, and some of you probably heard this before, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And that always resonated with me. Not that I'm like so flashy now, but it really resonated in me. And I do share that with some of the young people I work with now. My mentorship really focuses around internships with social work students. I'm a SIFI trained supervisor, and there's not a lot of us, so we could supervise graduate students in social work. And every opportunity I get, I supervise those students. And I have tons of interns. There's a couple of interns here today, or if you were an intern, you may end up working with me. But those are the opportunities that we want to give to interns as well, and young people that we mentor. Get them to a position and a place where they can actually take that learned experience and put it to work.
Thank you for this really important discussion, and I'm so glad we have Girl Scouts that are in the audience to hear these stories that are firsthand. And I know that most of us have benefited from mentoring, and you're paying it forward and being a mentor to the future generations. And it can really, really, absolutely make a difference in a person's life. And in a lot of cases, it can actually make generational change, which is something that I am very, very committed to as we look at marginalized and under-resourced and underrepresented communities. And I know the Girl Scout mission that is very, very strong with us, and that's something that our board chair, Donna Smealand, champions for it all the time. So one of the things I want to say, and thank you so much, Sylvia, Dr. Diaz, for doing this. If our friends and our supporters that are in the audience, if you have an internship, if your mentorship or a training program, and you have room for one of our super awesome, incredible Girl Scouts, then we encourage you to please use the form that's linked in front of you, the QR code, and it'll bring you to where you can sign up, and someone of us will reach out to you to discuss about mentorship, training opportunities, even if it's just for a day, to give our Girl Scouts an opportunity in different industries and different places. Please, we really could not do what we do without everyone that's in this room. So hand to heart, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for all your support. Our ability to come together and empower girls and young women is what International Women's Day is all about. This year's theme is to accelerate action, emphasizes the importance of taking decisive steps to forge women's equality. How have you advocated for yourself and advocated for women in your industry to advance your career?
All right, I'm going to skip the how I advanced for myself because I already told you that. So how am I advocating for women? So I'm going to come back to Money Like a Woman because it's not a campaign, it's a movement. And one of the things that we're doing with Money Like a Woman, and I'm saying this because I would love for you to nominate somebody, we are doing something called Beth Boards. We said, why should they be called billboards? Let's call them Beth Boards. This was from the Beth Page days, but we're keeping it. And we've been donating Beth Boards to women-owned businesses that might not be able to do it for themselves. And we did them in November in Times Square on the NASDAQ board for over a month for 2 women-owned businesses that launched the program, and we just are launching 3 more from Long Island. So you're gonna see them on train trestles and train stations and in the trains and all over the place, because we realize, local businesses need the advertising local to them, not necessarily in Times Square. And you can come to 4leaffcu.com/women, and you'll see the nominations, because that's a way that our company's trying to help advance and support women. The other thing we're doing is a Visionary Awards in June. So we're gonna money like a visionary, and we're gonna support a corporate person, a not-for-profit, an entrepreneur, and a young professional. You can go to that same website, same space, and you can submit applications shortly. And we're gonna give them out at the Reimagine Conference in June that we sponsor. But it's about helping women, and the prizes for that are going to be at their discretion. They're going to get to pick from a list of things. It could be coaching, it could be a consultant for an entrepreneur, it could be leadership classes for a young professional. So we're going to give them something that's meaningful and has value, another way to give back to the female community through our Money Like a Woman campaign. So that's how we're doing it. That's how we're trying to help women in the world. And then, from a personal perspective, it all goes back to mentoring, right? Yeah. And really being there for people and building relationships and helping people get to that next level. So we do internships, and we'll certainly sign up, and we have paid internships every summer. And, it's just all about giving that helping hand to somebody, because you never know what a difference you're going to make in their life.
I think one of the best ways that you can advocate for yourself in your career is to be able to speak on not only your accomplishments, but also on the skills that you do have that may not be as obvious as the role that you have, right? So the career I'm in now, again, I was a teacher, so even when I went to Campus Ministries, it had nothing to do with English education. So when I wrote my resume, I made sure to include all of those other skills and things and hobbies that I was involved in that had skills that related directly to this role, right? I talked about the Youth Preachers program that I was running that had a lot of similar programs to a Campus Ministries program. I spoke on my experience in communications and publications at the high school because I was running the yearbook, and pretty much in every role today, you need some type of graphic design, social media, communication skills. So I have to advertise my events from my office. So that was another skill that, again, wasn't necessarily from my career, but that I still possessed. And so you have to be able to advocate those skills, because that's what opens opportunities for you that may not directly align with your degree or the job that you're coming from or what you're doing on a day-to-day basis in your job, but that you do in other areas of your life. And I think an important way to advocate for other women is to share the stories of women who came before us and did amazing work in this area as well. Part of my role as the director of mission is to really celebrate the history of our sisters. So the Sisters of St. Dominic that are here today, they're our founding congregation of our university, and Molloy originally opened as Molloy Catholic College for Women, so it was made for women by women. I know that. Yeah, so our legacy really is empowering women, and obviously now we are co-ed, but that tradition and that foundation of our university is still there. So speaking on their accomplishments is one piece of how I do it, and then bringing it into the future generation is now working with my students. I run a leadership development program. It's a collaboration between Mission and our Student Affairs Office, and we highlight leaders in our community. They come and present and share skills for our students, and we highlight our women execs and our women VPs just as much, sometimes more than our men, because we have quite a few of them at Molloy, which is a blessing. So our students get to really see women right now being leaders, and then also hear about how women who founded our university were also leaders, and kind of learn from both sides of it. So I think that those are great ways to kind of continue the legacy of empowering women.
So being surrounded by 80 men a day doesn't really give me a whole lot of opportunity to be empowering women. But here we are still finding ways to do it. I have an awesome team of women in my office. I want to continue to empower, and they empower me. And I'm going to share a little story of something I did for somebody on my team. That actually was really something for everybody. But it was an opportunity to empower her. She came in originally coming from a medical background, working in a medical office. Construction was nothing, she didn't know anything, but I just needed a receptionist, really. And I saw something in her, and I said, I'm gonna put you on a path to grow. And I called her into my office one day, and I said, I want you to write down on this Post-it how much money you wanna make. And I want a realistic, attainable number, like not, I don't wanna make $5 million a year, let's be real. But give me an attainable number of something that would make your life very comfortable, that would make you really be proud of what you do every day. And she wrote that number on a piece of paper. And I said, that is no longer your goal, that's my goal now. And my goal isn't just to meet that goal. My goals have always been to exceed the goals. So what I did is I put her on a performance pay. And I said, here's what your base is, but I'm gonna give you an opportunity, and I'm gonna guide you, and I'm gonna oversee you to take some stuff off of my plate and be able to take a piece of whatever my profit is. So I was just fully transparent with everything I did. And within 18 months, not only did she hit that goal, but she exceeded it. So being able to set those goals for people that work with you. I hate the word boss. They always call me boss lady when I go to job sites, and it irks me. It won't come off, hey boss, we're a team. I just happen to be the captain. And when we work together and you understand that, without my guys swinging a hammer on a roof, I don't have anything. And without the girls answering the phone and making sure that the trucks get dispatched or that the social media post gets posted, we don't have a business. And when you realize that, as women, when we're running, in the office and we're juggling things, you have to be able to really understand that when you have women working and you're encouraging them and you're giving them a path for further success, that it's not capped, they're gonna work their butts off to be able to attain those goals that you both set together.
As a social worker, advocacy is a big part of what I did in my earlier career in a micro practice, working with individuals and families who were struggling. It was my job to advocate for services and resources for those folks and to work and help transform families, maybe to get them to a better place. As my career evolved, and currently now I'm in a position as I see myself as a macro practitioner, helping lots of people, we have 1.5 million people here in Suffolk County. About 300,000 of them avail themselves of the services in just one of my departments. That's the Department of Social Services. That's a lot. That's a big percentage of this population, but it's a lot of people that utilize our services, whether it's Child Protective Services, Adult Protective Services, Medicaid, SNAP benefits. It's an array of services. So I'm in a position to work with my team to advocate for services to a much larger population. But it's still advocacy. We're still, these are challenging times budgetarily. I was talking to our Senator Monica Martinez earlier about the challenges that we have in our community currently with the climate, about funding, but we remain obligated to help people here in Suffolk County, and we'll do that. We'll continue to do that. We'll work together and we'll pool the resources we need to pool to make sure that kids don't go home and go to bed hungry, and people are not freezing to death on the streets, because that's our obligation. And so the advocacy part, with regard to women, in many instances, women are the primary caregiver and breadwinners in their family. And so we have to do our best to ensure that they're getting the services that they need, the benefits that they need, and the children have the support services that they need. So advocacy sort of on steroids, I guess, now, because we're doing this work to ensure that our entire community is impacted, positively. On a smaller level, I work with a lot of women, There are a lot of them here today. Actually, the Human Services Division team. We've got some DSS people here, and Women's Services. This is what we think about all day long: is how we can help, primarily in many instances, women who avail themselves and need our services. So thankfully, we have a nice infrastructure here of women in leadership. And who are very, very concerned about the women and men and children, of course, in our community. And we don't sleep at night when things go wrong. There are many sleepless nights that we have. I see Monica nodding her head, and my friends in the back as well. It's tough because unfortunately we do see a lot of things happening in Suffolk County. Around human trafficking, and those are primarily women victims, young women. And so we're doing our best to address these issues. So it's really great to support women who are emerging as leaders. We just can't forget those women and leave those women behind who need us the most. And those women can be great leaders as well. So I'm going to challenge the Girl Scouts maybe to join forces with us and work with us to provide additional resources to those people who have the greatest need maybe, and maybe we can work together and develop some opportunities for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody does drives like the Girl Scouts, and as Tammy had mentioned, and Donna, the Girl Scouts, the Gold Awards, so many of our Gold Award focuses on helping those that are under-resourced. So absolutely, we can work on do something like that.
Our next question is from our Girl Scout Media Girls.
As a soon-to-be Girl Scout alum, I will be joining a sisterhood 50 million strong. Networking is a powerful tool to build community. What do you think is an important trait or skill when it comes to networking?
Showing up, just being there to do it, putting your hand out, saying hello. I said before, relationship building is a superpower for everybody, especially for young women. I will tell you, I hosted over 100 Girl Scouts a couple of weeks ago, and it was a funny story. Katie, who's here, and my team was leading that effort, and they called me and they said, we only have 13 girls coming. Should we cancel? And I said, no, 13 girls is great. And then a couple of days later, they said, oh no, we have 59 girls coming. It's going to be great. And I said, okay, great. And then a couple of days later, they said, we have 179 girls coming, plus all their parents. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pivot on this one? And we did. They put the girls into 3 groups, and they rotated, and we were able to talk to everybody. But one of the questions came from one of the youngest girls, and I think it's interesting to talk about from this perspective. She said to me, I don't want to be a leader. And I had said to them, you can all be whatever you want to be, and you can all be great leaders if you are true to yourselves and be authentic. And she said, well, I don't want to be a leader, so now what do you got for me? And I was like, ooh, I like this girl, she's sassy. And I said to her, be your best self, right? Be your best self. And whatever it is you choose you want to do, then just be your best self. You don't have to be a leader. You can be a leader in your own rights, or you can just be your best individual contributor. And everybody contributes and is important. So I think self-importance and just being authentic to yourself and who you are and being your best self.
Real brief, what I tell when I go into the high schools and I talk to the students, they ask me this question all the time. And really, it's you don't know the last hand you shook and who that person is attached to. The network, it runs deep, and you don't know where those relationships can take you, so make sure you leave a lasting impact.
Have meaningful relationships and be authentic.
Authentic, yes. Michelle, did you have
Yeah, working in higher ed, obviously one of our goals is that our students will graduate and get a job. So we work very closely with our Career Center who focuses on this, and they say, which is a statistic that's always stuck with me, is that 80% of jobs is filled by who you know. So your connections are so important, especially as we're talking about young women going into the workforce and going into their future careers. So I think showing up is the biggest piece of that. Is if you have an opportunity to go to any type of networking event, definitely go and definitely be present, put your phone away and shake some hands. That's what's going to help you in the future.
To me, Girl Scouts is more than a program and more than an organization, but it really is a family, and I've really found my home in Girl Scouts of Suffolk County.
Girl Scouts has made a big change on my life because before I did Girl Scouts, I was always very shy and I was very quiet and I wasn't really good at interacting with people, but now I feel like I've opened up a lot and I make a lot of new friends everywhere I go.
Girl Scouts has impacted me because it made me realize how much I like giving back to my community and be able to help others.
Girl Scouts has meant absolutely everything to me, and it is completely who I am. I've been a Girl Scout since I was in kindergarten in a daisy blue tunic, so for 13 years, I've had the most incredible experiences.
Girl Scouts has impacted me in many ways, but one of the main ones is all the new skills that I've learned. I've learned how to manage money better and how to deal with money, and I've also learned how to interact with people better, whether it's making new friends or even just interacting with people at a boot sale who are buying cookies.
It's also impacted me by being more confident in myself and also teaching others to be more confident in themselves too.
What is one word to define your time as a Girl Scout?
Teamwork, friendship, caring.
What do you want the world to know about Girl Scouts?
I want the world to know that Girl Scouts is so much more than what the world thinks we are.
I want the world to know that Girl Scouts is about more than just selling cookies.
Girl Scouts is not just about selling cookies.
It's more than just the cookies.
We are not just girls selling cookies. We're girls changing the world. For me, it's about making friends and learning how to give back to your community.
It's about building leadership, courage, and character. It's also building a better community for other people to live in.
My time as a Girl Scout has given me endless opportunities.
Girl Scouts helps me accelerate change in my community because it just allows me to have an upper hand in what I do. We're showing each other through our journey how to help each other, how to be brave, how to conquer things.
And I think we always put our best foot forward to make sure people feel our kindness, make sure everybody feels included, and to really just make the world a better place and to show our character and courage.
Girl Scouts really is a community builder, but it's also a place where solutions can be made. But it's really about the change that we can make in the world.
Because every girl deserves to have the opportunity that I do.
Okay. All brushed up and they're nice and white.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
All right. Y'all ready?
In Suffolk County, no girl is ever turned away from Girl Scouting, and that's why your support is so important. We firmly believe, as I hear Tammy say at every event, we will not let a dollar stand between a girl and the Girl Scout experience. This year, we're offering over 50 community programs in over 40 schools across Suffolk County. 90% of the girls in these troops at these schools need financial aid, and we're committed to giving them a place to belong, and we understand that $100 per year, perhaps the least costly activity a child can participate in, can still be too much when there are virtually no disposable dollars at home. On your tables and on the main screen, we're looking to sponsor 50 girls and give them access to the full Girl Scout experience. Your support will help cover membership fees, uniforms, council-sponsored programs, trips, and even a week of summer camp. You can join other members at your table to help at one of our larger levels. However you choose to give, there is no small gift when it comes to a girl. With over 250 friends here today, your support will make a difference and make the impossible possible for all girls in our community who want to be Girl Scouts. And I'm told we already have 5 girls sponsored today, at the 250 each level, and I'm going to make that 6. I'd like to ask Tammy now to come to the podium.
So this has been an incredible morning. We have some gifts to say thank you to all of you for sharing your time, your thoughts, your expertise with this audience. I want to say thank you to all of you for being here today. There are people here from a whole array of other nonprofits. Renee Flagler was here earlier today. My partner in crime representing Girls Inc., Girl Scouts of Nassau County, Randy Bynum. I could not do what I do without knowing that they're lifting that weight with me to help girls all across our region. So, and I thank all of you because none of this gets done in a vacuum. We help the next generation and they will pay that forward. So I thank all of you for being here this morning. I'd like to thank my team, everyone from setup to those who worked on the committee. I have an amazing team. I'm very fortunate and blessed. I have a remarkable board, and we had women working on this committee who are absolutely fabulous. Yes, Adrian, I am looking at you. So I would like to say a special thanks to our 2 co-chairs because they drove the car. So thank you to both of you. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of time to put an event together, and they gave that time graciously and with all they had. So my thanks to all of you, my thanks to all of the sponsors, to all of you who entered for the raffles. The boards are up, the numbers are up, and I wish you all good luck. Please feel free to stay, network, enjoy conversation with each other. We have the room for a little bit longer, but I thank you all for being here this morning, and thank you, and wish you all a good day.